All right. So thank you so much, everybody, for taking the time to tune into our AMA here on Caesar's Calls. We have the team from Drift Token, otherwise known as Drift, joining us today, and they are in their lap 2 phase of their pre-sale right now with a game ready beta available. Personally, I've taken the time to check out the game, get a feel for it, and I've been a big fan of the graphics, the visuals. As I said, we're just kind of hanging out. The menu gives me some feels for like that Midnight Club Dub Edition in terms of the customization and stuff. And I'm excited to see how the Drift token is going to be utilized for the gamers in the audience here for the skins and customizations as well. I know with gamified projects, not everybody is likely to jump in and actually participate in the in-game ecosystem. So this team was mindful of that as well. And there are going to be some incentives and some benefits for those that actually hold the Drift token from the perspective of in-game revenue as they scale out the ecosystem. So definitely, again, make sure to understand how you can participate in the ecosystem using the Drift token, whether you're a gamer or a non-gamer. We'll definitely make sure we kind of go through that. We'll go through the in-game economy and how the actual game's going to function. We'll touch on the pre-sale, which, as I mentioned, is lap 2. They had one previous lap, which sold out fairly quickly, as well as a private round prior to that. So we'll go through what the discounts and the rates look like. But the development on the game itself is impressive, and these guys do seem like a very professional team. So I am excited to really pick their brains and understand what's gone into building up the Drift ecosystem here. So yeah, again, very excited to host you guys. Apologize to the Drift community there with the miscommunication on the AMA Saturday, and just really excited to have you guys in today. So with that being said, I did post the white paper, the website, as well as the link to the actual game on our page. Make sure you guys have that up alongside the AMA so you can follow along. Josh, Paul, as well as Michael, thank you guys for being here. I will throw you the mic at this point to introduce yourself and take it from there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for hosting us. Totally appreciate you working with us when you're sick. I know it. I know that can be hard, and you don't always see that kind of professionalism and follow up with a reschedule. So thanks for that. Thanks for the good intro. Thanks for doing your research. I appreciate that. I'm gonna hop on video in a second here. But yeah, I'm Josh Chan. I'm the CEO here for Drift Token. If you guys have heard our AMAs before, I've done a little more in-depth intro, but I'll keep it shorter here. So my background in leadership, I was in the United States here. I was in the military for the last decade. I went to West Point, one of the premier leadership academies here. Graduated there in 2017. I was an officer in the Army, and then I got into Web3 development, marketing, and stuff like that in 2020. Worked side projects, and then when I was able to get out of the military, I took a full-time role leading operations in an energy cross-blockchain project. That's where I work now with Mike and Paul. And then we came over here we started working on this project about nine months ago. We wanted to do something Web3 fun, and one of our head developers is over, is from Saudi Arabia, and he grew up in the drifting community a lot. He's super enthusiastic about it. So he had the game. We liked the idea, and that's kind of the genesis of where we are today. As mentioned, we're about to start our third round, second lap, because the first lap was the warm-up lap of our pre-sale. We're super excited. We've had a lot of success, and we're just excited about the product. So I'll transition over to Dr. DeBone to give his intro real quick.
Hello, everybody. So I'm Michael DeBone. I am the CFO and the deputy and the director of strategy here for Drift Studios. I also am the deputy director of research for Cointelegraph, which is the oldest crypto media company around. So we're very famous for the cartoons, the cartoon thing. I'm also the director of strategy for a company that Joshua had just mentioned, where we all met, and it was it was like a Web 2.1 kind of a company, and we all wanted to do something really Web 3, which was kind of the impetus behind us starting this process about 10 months ago. So a lot of work here that gets us to this point. I am, as Josh just alluded to, I'm a doctoral professor, so I actually teach blockchain at the University of the Cumberland. So I teach in a graduate program for blockchain. So the next generation of blockchain professionals I'm kind of responsible for, so it's kind of all my fault. And then what's the next thing? Oh, And was there something else, Josh? Oh, yeah. My dissertation was on decentralized autonomous organizations and their practical use cases. So my entire PhD in life is all wrapped up in Web3, as you can see from Bitcoin behind me and my paper arrow there. So that's a little bit of me. Paul?
Thanks, Doctor. Yeah, I'm Paul de Havilland. I'm heading up marketing here at Drift Studios. I have about 5 years in the blockchain, so the Web3 space. First couple of years as a journalist, then I turned back to marketing and have a lot of experience consulting and being an employee at largely in the GameFi, NFT, metaverse kind of space and that side of that part of Web3. So when these guys asked me to join Drift Studios from getting to know them at the company that we'd worked at before, along with the fourth of the core team, Sophie, the head designer, I jumped at the chance to get back into marketing in GameFi because it's sort of right up my alley.
Impressive backgrounds, guys, for sure. Pretty cool to know you got a doctor and a professor on the team as well. With Michael, obviously had the chance to learn a little bit about your backgrounds previously, but for me on anything long term, I've always said to the channel and to our community, it's really important to understand the people behind the project and the type of passion and understanding they have for what they're going, because if you're going into this venture and it's going to be a longer term play and something that's, not just a simple meme coin or something that's fly by night, you do have to have a certain level of passion and understanding because, there's going to be ups and downs and it's not always going to be, bright and sunny when you guys are building out a project. So, in those tougher times, it's knowledge, it's experience, and it's kind of passion for what you're building out that have to be there. So, no, that's why I always start with a personal introduction, and I find it is really important on anything that's more of a long-term or utility play. So thank you guys so much for that. Now, that being said, let's go. I know you briefly touched on it, Josh, with some of the inspiration and origins there of Drift and what you guys are building out here. But I would really love to dive a little bit deeper into everything that you're doing there. And, after you introduce us to the concept, I would love to just start with the pre-sales because that's kind of the event that's occurring right in front of us today.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks. That's a good format. So usually I'll cover the big stuff, and then if I miss something, Mike and Paul will hop in. So on the origin, like I mentioned, I've been working on projects sort of since really investing since 2017, but really in projects since 2020. So I started, like a lot of people did back then, just, anonymously working. Not, that's how it was. And I got to know, I built a network, had a good reputation, being honest, even anonymous. A lot of people, don't do that or whatever. It was a crazy time. A lot of money was moving then. Definitely. So I built my network there. I learned a lot about what worked for projects, what didn't. Saw a lot of successes, a lot of failures. So that's kind of like what drives a lot of the experience here on the project. Like seeing how we did some unique things, specifically with how we're handling distribution of the pre-sale. We have a dynamic. We have a staking option, ETH rewards. So, that kind of has been fed by a lot of experience in the trenches of Web3. And then when I got to move, obviously, to the more full-time role, I could put my, start to actually put it on socials that I'm working on, my LinkedIn, stuff like that. It became a career, once I was transitioned. So that's kind of the background here of how we got to where we are with the token. So a lot of ideas were there, a lot of strategic considerations have gone into it. When we saw, hey, there's a good game we have here, because this beta has been out for like 8 months. Like, when I first saw the game, it was when our developer shared it, and he's like, hey, I just want to put this out for free for people to start playing. I was like, wait, dude, we need to make this into what it should be. We need to make it make the product. We need to build it out right, and we could be a win. Like, this is a winning formula, because I know who we were working with. All of us at that point knew each other. There's no reason we can't be a super successful project. Then, we started to develop the idea of the studio token, looked at the advantages there, and that's really a lot of the genesis of the product. I've seen V 1.2 are, we're between 1 and 2, and I wish we could share. It's so much further along than this 8 months ago. So I'm super excited about that. We've been able to really, because, you got to understand, people who don't know, it's resource intensive and time intensive to develop anything, to do it well. So, that's why we've been able to do it kind of on a part-time basis the last 9 months. That's how we could do it for no cost. We were using available resources essentially when they were available. So that's why we were able to get this far. But now we're like, now that there's revenue flowing in and we can, pay the studio, pay ourselves, we can put a lot more time into it. Not that the effort hasn't been there. So we're able to concentrate a lot more firepower here. And I'm super excited with what we're doing. And that's where we are today with the presale. The game itself, you can check out right now, play.payroutpursuit.com. So you can go check out what we're talking about. But that just shows you an idea of where we're starting. Like, the concepts right there. It's an event-based wagering essentially on winning your portion of a prize in a native token. So that's like the big idea. Native token meaning we're cross-chain. So whatever network you're betting on, we don't have an in-game token, which is a differentiation for us from other GameFi products. And that's one of the things we've learned and saw failures there, because inherently you're going to get sell pressure in any way you integrate that. So that's one of the things we've been able to avoid. But we've also made it a relationship where the token success fuels the game success, and the game success fuels the token success. So we think we found a really good relationship there via the tokenomics. So that goes, just high level. That's, token volume goes into make bigger prize pools, and then game volume comes back to strengthen liquidity and run operations for the whole ecosystem. So that's kind of a high level how we approach that. So we don't see, that's to mitigate and avoid some of those issues with other GameFi products. We talk about Gala being a target. You look at the potential where we can go if we do these things right. Obviously, having Michael as our strategy and CFO is extremely helpful. He works on a lot of projects as an advisor, and two, he works at Cointelegraph, and he's been in the industry in the space, so he understands a lot of stuff that you don't necessarily get from people working on projects. He's seen a different level, and he's able to bring a lot of strengths here. Obviously, you look at Paul's experience in Web3 gaming already. He's on a tour right now in Asia. He just met with a guild. He's actually doing stuff. I don't think projects do this type of stuff this early, to be honest, and maybe there are some that have been able to. But the type of moves we're making, in my opinion, are setting us up for 10-figure market cap. So I think that's a big differentiation. People look at the amount we're raising. Like, do we need necessarily the hard cap we have? No, but if you want to set up a 10-figure coin, you want to do you want to set the conditions. We're talking with a lot of exchanges, like good exchanges, strategic exchanges, not just whoever we can get, because we could probably get most exchanges right now. So that's what we're doing. Those type of things in the moves we're making and the resources they may take short term are where a lot of those funds are going. So, I know that might be a concern, especially given the presale, the attitude towards presales, and a lot of what people have seen from products recently. That's kind of the big justification we have, and the team, obviously we're docs, we're setting up, we're incorporating in Abu Dhabi, Dubai next month. So those things are all happening. We're setting up the long term. You set up an organization to run for years, not just like you see a lot of these projects. Just like some of the advice we got early on when we were just kind of reaching out is, make the liquidity thin as possible so it runs. It's like, okay, well, how do you run an organization long term when you set up that type of conditions at launch? Those type of conditions. So I hope, I think I covered a lot of high level where we're going, strategic stuff, being mindful of time. So I hope maybe Mike and Paul can jump in and fill some gaps.
Yeah, no, before maybe they do, Josh, first off, thank you so much you gave me definitely a few things to come back with regards to questions or things I noticed. And yeah, I did want to go into the contribution side a little bit first, because very unique in the sense of, most of the time when you see a pre-sale, they're like, we're launching on ETH, so like buy our token in ETH, or, you contribute in these 2 or 3 ways. But that was one of the things that I mentioned, and I talked a little bit with your advisor, is it's different because there's a feeling of inclusion, I guess, with what you guys are trying to do with the multiple options to come in. So I did want to have you guys cover off a little bit on that, because it is very unique, and just kind of go into the thought process behind it, if you could.
Yep. So yeah, we want cross-chain intentionally, because for the product, any product, you want adoption. Like that's key in GameFi, key in anything you're doing, any industry you're in. Adoption and use of a product is like, what drives the success of a product, unless, you get into mandates or something like that, external. But that's what we're going for, right? We want to appeal to all the different communities. We want to create, smaller groups that come in are able to participate. And that's the advantage of cross-chain. I mean, we're working with, and I can't really say yet because it's not official. We have early access to one of the major cross-chain protocols. We're working with their developers. So I'll just say that we're going to be potentially a flagship for that. So that's where we're going. We want the most, we want to appeal and get the highest base of usership possible as soon as we can. And that's the idea behind our approach of cross-chain, where we're integrating. As you said, we have ETH. We expect a lion's share of volume, obviously, there, just because. But, we have BNB, we have Matic, and there's a strong interest there. But the way we're able to set up the events is, you can bet on whatever chain you prefer, and the reward will come out on your chain. So now, if you think about it, you're a smaller chain and you're in one of these larger pools, which we may have 6-figure pools for some of these races. Now you just brought 6 figures to your chain if you win that event. So now you could be looking at even newer projects or smaller chains, could potentially be bringing a lot of volume there. So there's more incentive in the product there to get especially these smaller communities tend to be enthusiastic more so than potentially what you have over on the ERC20 side, Ethereum. So we're looking to have that there and like really bring people together. And then this is not in stone yet, but when we move forward to expanding the product, when we could take this type of thing and allow a specific coin to come on and participate, well, then you even have that, you have, communities able to build around the product and potentially in separate areas. So those are kind of an idea of where we can go with what we're doing. Our main goal is to smash what we do in V2 and do it really well. So that's obviously the emphasis and the focus, but we cover a lot. There's a lot of directions we're considering. And, once we have a really strong V2, we can do anything we want. So that's really where we're going for. Mike and Paul, I'm sure you have some stuff to add because you always hit a lot on these areas. So,
yeah, thanks, Josh. One of the things that when we started talking about this whole entire process, months and months ago, they had this idea, and it was GameFi, and I'm a DeFi guy, right? I'm a Bitcoin maxi kind of, and so it's kind of my I'm not really a GameFi guy. I don't really have the time for it. So I was like, well, you guys, do your thing, and I'll come back in a couple months and start having this conversation. And I came back after they were developing stuff, and I was like, is there a way to incorporate things for non-gamers? So that way non-gamers can be part of this ecosystem, right? And that's kind of what the impetus was for having everything, right? So not only is there a game thing, the game is actually isolated from the token itself, because we've seen that before in other projects, right? Like Axie Infinity and stuff, where the game goes up, the game is kind of, whatever. And then as soon as interest loses, it goes away from the game. You see the token disappear, the token value go away from the market. So the whole idea was that the drift token would be completely isolated from the game. It would be able to drift, if you will, from game to game as things move on. And so, the next, this first game is Payout Pursuit. And while it still might continue forever and ever, there might be another game also, another game that gets added in the future. And we're not focused on that because we're hyper focused on getting this game up running and operational and just a fun experience for everybody. But the idea was that, I could probably take my drift and I could stake it, or I could have it, and I could be a part of the rewards that come out, every single race. So that's kind of increases the value of drift itself. And then I like the idea of being able to this is way down the road, right? Don't ask me, don't DM me, when is this feature coming on board? Because it's not going to be tomorrow, but it will my hope is that eventually gets there. You'll be able to get a good racer, and you'll be able to say, hey, I want to put a bet down on Paul, or a bet down on Josh. Definitely don't bet on me, because you will lose. But bet on somebody else, and you will, and hopefully that's the hope, right? So that way it'd be kind of like horse racing a little bit. So that's kind of a cool thing. And the cool thing is, because this game, we wanted to create a game also that was in the ethos of Web3. And because of that, it's not own something cool and then you get to beat everybody else. You own some animal NFT, and then it gives you some special powers, and then you get NFTs for the rest of your life, and everyone else is a servant underneath you. It's not like that at all, right? This is a strictly the skill that's involved in the game is what plays into your ability to win, and that skill is very important. And we have a saying called GGMF, get good, blankety blank. And, that saying is there for a reason because, you have to get good at the game. Maurice, you said that you had played, you played the game and you got some experience on it. It's not like, it's a drift game. You're drifting in this particular game to get through Pale Pursuit.
Oh, I'm the Mario Kart drift master from back in the day. I'm rocking both bumpers coming around those corners, orange boost coming around the turns, we're ready to go. But what you had mentioned, Michael, you had mentioned something really interesting. So just kind of what you were talking about, to simplify it or put it in more layman's terms, you're talking about almost like a handicapping feature, right? Where you can handicap and bet against other players in a sense. Like you said horse racing, and my dad used to own a couple horses, so I spent way too much time around a horse track as a kid and in the barn and stuff, helping them muck the stalls and whatnot. So I know a little bit about horse racing, and the handicapping side of horse racing. You could, my dad taught me a lot about handicapping, just, how to bet and so that's really interesting. I think that's cool.
And, and other things where you we're working on this too. So again, when the game launches, and you don't DM me immediately but we're working on this part again. This is another thing we're working on is you're in a race. Let's say there's 100 people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people in the race. But, you don't necessarily think you could beat the 3-year-old that's awesome at the game, right? That person, the 3-year-olds, of course, they're always better at technology than we are. They just come out of the womb and they know how to use computers, right? So they're probably going to be really good at racing and better than I am. So I'm probably going to lose to the 3-year-old, but I might want to bet everybody in my office. Listen, we'll put $100 side bet basically on our people, only these 10 people. And, I can see people that are, I can see people getting those bets, just side bets, crazily. So same race, but, whoever gets, if you get 15th place, the other person gets 20th place, then you get first place out of all your people, you win the whole thing. So I think those kind of things will be cool, and that'll add a little dynamic racing thing there. So I think it's cool. I think we're working on a lot of different aspects. And you mentioned, so there is like an NFT aspect, but it's not our NFT. We're not going to be an NFT house. We are going to work on a way to integrate NFTs for a visual only, right? So it doesn't give you any special powers or, let you throw, if it was Mario Kart, it doesn't let you throw like the shells or anything like that. But it just gives you, it gives a visual. So the other cool thing is if you're a good racer, if you're really good at racing, you probably could reach out to a sponsor and get your car sponsored because everyone's going to look at your car. It's going to be a ghost on the leaderboard. So if you want to go get Wonder Bread to sponsor your car, you get Wonder Bread up there like Talladega Nights, and then boom, you have the Wonder Bread car, up on the thing. So there's a lot of possibilities that we're existing, and that's all for revenue for the gamer. So again, this is a Web3 thing. We're not making this thing so that way somebody has an advantage. We're trying to, like for instance, tracks would be released to everybody at the same time, and the tracks are going to be unique. So no one can play the track in advance and then get good at it, and then all of a sudden race against everybody else. Everyone gets presented to everybody at the same time. Everyone gets the same amount of time, opportunity, and chance to race against each other. That's the whole point. And it's definitely play to, how you say it, Paul?
Pay to play, win to earn.
Boom. That's what it is.
Yeah, and this is a very important instructor for us. I mean, I obviously had a lot of experience in gaming products, Web3 gaming products, and seeing what makes them fail. And there's two things that tended to make them fail. One was an in-game token, and getting the balance right between making the token easy enough to win to keep people interested, but not too easy to win so that they would just dump them. I'm talking tokens that are fungible or non-fungible. That was the one thing that got everyone, a lot of games unstuck. And the other one was the whole idea of pay to win, right? So the bigger chunk you put in, the bigger sort of you could buy all this stuff, buy all these advantages in game, and beat everybody, and that is completely unsustainable because nobody else is going to bother coming in and trying to compete with you. So those two things we really wanted to avoid because they're not sustainable and they don't work. And that was, we like to think of ourselves as, GameFi version 2, if you like, GameFi 2.0, right? And so we've done this token installation thing. It is a studio token. It will benefit holders across our eventual suite of games. And it is skill-based. The game itself is all skill-based. So whatever skins you're able to, put on your car, however cool your car is. I'm driving an Aston Martin, and I've pimped it all out. And then, around the corner, there's some guy in, a 1923 horse and cart kind of thing. I have zero advantage over that guy. I have to be able to race my car. He has to be able to race his horse and cart. And note where we're both, I'm not advantaged by my ability to pimp my car out. So those two elements that the doctor just touched on that they're very important in the way we design both the token and the game.
Yeah, and a caveat on what Paul was just explaining. Now the different models in physics they do. So the handling can be different, but it's not going to be you can get an NFT and get an advantage is what the point. But yeah, there will be obviously if you've drifted or played games or in a car, you can tell suspension tightness, all those type of things, weight distribution. They go into play. My degree is mechanical engineering with an automotive focus, so I've done the hand calculations to determine how a car will move dynamically. So all that stuff is in play, and it's obviously in play in game engines. I mean, to the degree we can, obviously we're limited by the fact that we're browser based, which is a huge advantage, we believe. And we're a lightweight package. Right now we're on Unity, but we're looking at potential of other platforms. But there's pros and cons of that. So, but just to kind of give that idea, it will be somewhat the skill aspect is understanding the vehicle you're using and how to use it, and when. You might for example, you might put the brake on at a different point, when that, how you handle a turn, and, there, and you can, use that car the best way. So that's kind of to cover that too.
I appreciate that. And, I agree. Some of the ways the models, and it's unfortunate, right? Because I think, there's a few industries that go really well alongside crypto. I think the adult entertainment industry is one that makes really a lot of sense. Sports betting or betting makes a lot of sense. And gaming for me is another one that makes a ton of sense, just because of one, the technology aspect obviously is there, but the secondary part is the transparency around the blockchain when it comes to payment and tracking what's actually occurring within the ecosystems on these high level transaction type plays. If you think about something like a Fortnite or something they're processing so many transactions and so many small details, they're running so much money through that ecosystem. It's pretty crazy, right? So, I think you guys have identified a good one. But what's happened to GameFi in crypto and Web3 is the models and these large-scale products has often been, like you said, Michael, unsustainable, or it feels like you're almost a slave to somebody above you because of how the hierarchy or the tier system works within the NFT side of it. So, I really like what you guys kind of mentioned with what Paul talked about, and it seems like there's been a lot of kind of studying to past projects, past formulas, what's worked, what's hasn't. And I think the biggest issue in my opinion with GameFi is more so perception than actual delivery. So if you guys can find a model that works and just show that it works, I think you can remove that negative perception around what GameFi can't be because of just the amount of failed models that we've seen. And I think Josh alluded to that early on in the AMA.
Yeah, first round of GameFi products is something I was looking at some statistics. Can't remember if it was 87% or 97% have are dead, essentially. They've failed. So, which is crazy, right? I mean, it's a crazy fail rate. And it's largely down to bad modeling, bad tokenomics. They didn't think it through. And, this is new territory. There's not to kind of cast aspersions at that and give it a go. People got into it, people liked it. But in the end, if something isn't sustainable, internally sustainable, it will die, right?
100% agree. So from a player base perspective, that's the other side. It's a lot of the times these GameFi projects don't get the adoption on the player base. They will see people buying in, expecting others to play. But if that doesn't happen, we kind of have seen how that recipe plays out. So that's what I wanted to go into. You had mentioned the beta has been available for about 8 months. So what type of numbers are we looking at right now? How many people have gone into the site and tried it out? Feedback wise, what are you guys looking at in terms of expected players when you do go live with the token and everything?
Yeah, I don't. I'm sorry, go, Josh.
Yeah, I can get a live pull of users from the dev shop. Obviously we've been doing a lot of community feedback, and every time we get on AMA, we collect it. We haven't checked the total number, honestly, about because you have to create an account, obviously, to play the game. So we do have a log of that. But we get there's a lot of repeat plays, obviously.
I can tell you something anecdotally that might be interesting while Josh pulls up that numbers, because I'm currently in Cambodia starting the marketing push for the game and talking to obviously some guilds and some entertainment product distributors. And Cambodia is in a unique situation right now where 90% of Cambodian gamers are playing one game, one particular title. It's a battle game. It takes about 20 minutes for each game to go. So I was talking with a few, I call them kids, but they're in their 20s, who really like it. And one of the things that our representative here, our hopeful representative here was saying that we have going for us is that it's fast. You can play a lot of games in the same amount of time it was take to play this big popular one. And B, it's entirely different. It's a racing game. And they were talking, kids were talking to me about it. It reminds me of the Need for Speed. I really like it. It's really cool. You get, it is a relatively simple game, and it's, in the end, it's a simple game to be able to understand conceptually. It's not simple to play. It's difficult. I can't finish a lap, for example. But anecdotally, we're getting, that's just some anecdotal feedback from, Cambodia is part of the East Asian, Southeast Asian and Northeast Asian markets that we're going to focus heavily on, at least in the beginning, because we see, there's just so many players here that they love their games here. So that's some kind of initial real gamer feedback that I can kind of share. We're also taking a lot of suggestions in AMAs, and people bring up a lot of great ideas, and we're down for that. Bring it, criticism, suggestions, and what we could do better. How about this feature? How about that feature? We love hearing from people from AMAs or in a Telegram group on Discord about what they would like to see when we take it all on board. And we're happy to hear all that.
Yeah, and I did get the numbers right now. We have 100 accounts registered, 250 players who've played it, but 100 have finished a lap. So they've gone through everything. That is on
zero marketing budget, yeah.
And that's on this iteration. We've had past iterations of the whole thing in the earlier beta. So we could probably pull those numbers, but above 250 people. Let's just say that which obviously we actually haven't we've obviously Paul's over there initiating part of our GameFi campaign. We actually haven't done targeting marketing in GameFi yet. That's starting now. We have a lot of that stuff coming out, like the next couple of weeks. So we expect to obviously grow the usership in that as well. We have something coming out today that should further increase interest. Mike, are we given the specifics of that yet? I think we've been talking about it, but
I'm sorry, I'm taking care of something for the.
no, I've been doing a couple side things too. I get it, man. No, just I was talking about. Are we talking about the publication or what we got coming out later today?
Yeah, we can say that.
Yeah.
So later on today is a spotlight article on Cointelegraph about us, explaining a little bit more about the project and kind of how it's a little bit groundbreaking from the rest of Web3 GameFi stuff. So that is coming out. But just not to switch to straight business, but Josh, if you could check out your DMs, your Telegram real quick. Sorry.
I got a bunch of lounges trying to get calls, so hold on, let me find you.
Yeah. So I do want to just jump in. I appreciate that, and while you guys are just kind of looking for some comments and some DMs there, 250 players, pretty solid. Now, because it's player to player, like you're essentially going head to head against people. You don't need in the early stages like a huge pool of people. You just need enough where, race to race, you're maybe getting a bit of a different feel. You're able to compete against a different opponent. You're not playing the same person over and over, unless it's your buddy and maybe you want to play that person over and over again, right? So, yeah, I think where you guys are at right now. I appreciate you kind of going into that, and it's a good stage so far because the token itself and the actual launch isn't coming up as well until later in the year. And that's another important thing to touch on just from a timelines perspective, what people can expect or, what people can see over the next couple of months. So, while we're on the topic, when are you guys ballparking, Drift actually hitting the market after these additional laps and, I'm assuming some more community building and marketing?
Yeah, so it depends. I mean, that's not the greatest answer, but it depends on, like I said, we're talking to a couple central exchanges right now, so that'd be kind of the biggest determination. But we're looking at determination as in hey, when do we obviously want to have the most successful launch possible. So we would never go further back in time for something that was arbitrary. So it'd be something significant. We'd message you to the community, but we're looking now late February to early March. That should align with even if we whatever exchange we determine we want to start out on or exchange is, that should still line up with enough time. But obviously, just want everybody to understand that. Look, if there's 3 exchanges we can knock out, and it's going to take us to mid-March. We're going to message it and make a determination for the best of the project, because I know people could be like, hey, I put my money up. Where's my money? That could be just an instinct, So I think we've been messaging it pretty clearly, but I just want to emphasize expectations wise, the latest, unless there's a major change or something big comes up, would be March, mid-March, and then the earliest would be end of February. Just to give an idea, we want to go to the earliest we can, as soon as we can get it out. But some of those big strategic things are still a little bit, to be determined on what path we want to take.
I think you could say that we're ambitious, we're impatient, but we're also cautious, right? We don't want to release anything too early when things aren't ready, and that's how we've been introducing new tokens for people to buy, drift with on a gradual basis. Everything we do is pretty cautious because we want to do it properly. I think if you don't set things up properly from the start, or if you set things up properly from the start, you're massively advantaging yourself for long-term success. So we are impatient, but we're cautious about making sure that we're ready to go and we're ready to go.
I definitely agree. You kind of have to make sure everything is ready to go. And I'm never somebody who rushes something. I'd rather it be done right than be done to appease people who are probably just wanting it to launch so that they can sell their tokens anyways, right? Like that's the other side of the equation, is the people who are always impatient are people who probably have the lowest belief in the project and what you're building. So, I always say, it's a tough line to walk as a team, because you do have to be mindful of everybody who bought in, but you can kind of tell who's in it for the longer term and the shorter term, and just, all, making sure that the short-term mindedness of some who are maybe more vocal don't outweigh like what you guys are doing. And it seems like you have a good plan and a good, strategy and timing in place. So yeah, for me, if things get delayed, that's part of trying to do things right. So yeah, no issues at all by any means. Now, I did want to, because about 10, 12 minutes between now and the pre-sale, go into some of the in-game economy stuff. So the revenue generating features, and essentially break down what I said in my intro, the ways in which people can use a token to participate if they're a gamer or if they're a non-gamer, and some of the incentives that they're going to receive, because this will be a really important piece to tie in just before the pre-sale starts, in case anyone has to jump off. I want to make sure we went here.
Yep. Josh, you want me to jump into that, Mike? Josh?
Sorry, one of you guys. I'm setting up something. So
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
I'm not going to give the best answer. Sorry.
Okay. If you're a gamer and you hold Drift tokens, you'll be able to grab yourself NFTs, pimp out your car, do all of that kind of personalization stuff, and ultra personalize your gaming experience. And this is on, we've done research on this, and we understand that gamers love that stuff. However, you will not have any gaming advantages whatsoever if you hold Drift versus not holding Drift. It is a skill-based game, and that's, the integrity of that is very important to us. If you are a non-gamer and you hold Drift, you will participate in revenue derived from the game. So the revenue of the game is split on a 70-30 basis. 70% goes to the gamers, goes to the winners, the fastest ones, with number one getting, in a given tournament, getting 40%. And the other 30% is split between, comes back to Drift Studios, and a portion of that goes to Drift holders. So that's where you win if you are holding Drift and you're not interested in playing the game. That's the kind of simple outline of what that is, how that looks.
Perfect. Now, I guess the other side of the equation is the staking. So if somebody is to go in there, do you guys have any penalties if somebody unstakes within the staking protocol? Is there any way to earn multipliers if you are playing the game and also staking? Like, that's another thing we've seen maybe utilized in the past. Just wanted to cover off a little bit more details on the staking protocol, penalties, and kind of incentives around that.
Yeah, so I mean, as a gaming holder of Drift, you will also benefit from in-game revenue as if you were a non-gamer in the same way, right? If you're staking Drift. I just want to differentiate between the pre-sale staking that we have and the post-TGE staking system. So during I'll cover the pre-sale. During the pre-sale, you can either choose to stake for 30 days post-TGE or not. And if you choose not to, you will face a dynamic tax starting at 25% and falling over time, just to reduce sell pressure. We're all about minimizing sell pressure. If you choose to stake, you will get 10% of your ETH or whatever it is you invested in back after 30 days. And that's the short term, and that's maxed out. There's a maximum pool for people who choose to stake their Drift immediately upon TGE, which is 30 days, and you'll earn 120% APY, with A standing for annual, which I tend to having to keep remind people of. So it's 10%, works out to be 10% of your investment back. So that's the pre-sale. The post-sale, there is, as I said, stakers of Drift share in the earnings that Drift Studios earns from a game, which is from the gaming revenue, which is 30%.
Okay, now within the breakdown of that in-game revenue, I just want to understand like how it's going to be distributed. Like if it's automatically claimed, is it weekly? Is it daily? Is it after a certain threshold? Like does the in-game revenue need to hit, for example, like 25K, and then once the 25K hits, it's distributed? Just trying to figure out all the I guess the scheduling around the revenue distribution and the splits in game.
It's a tournament-based, it's an event/tournament-based structure that we're going to have. So there will be daily, weekly, special, monthly, and even hourly tournaments that people. So if you're a gamer, you enter into a tournament. If you win, you win. You get paid out at the end of that. You've got a certain amount of time to post your best lap time. If your best lap time is the best lap time among everyone during that tournament period, you'll be paid 40% of the what's reserved for in-game earnings.
Okay, cool. So that makes a little bit more sense. And obviously understanding that like a wagering based system, if it's head to head, like that, it's easy to understand. Like there's going to be a small fee or a small percentage likely taken on behalf of the game or to go into that additional revenue pool. But, 95, 97, whatever it may be, is going to go directly back to the split of that match or that drift. Right. So, I understand how that side of things will work, but it's more so like, how are you using each match or each tournament to build up that larger pool that's going to sustain and kind of be distributed over time. So no, I appreciate you going into some of that, because like the head-to-head stuff's a little bit easier to comprehend and, make sense of. But it's more so that the sustainability and the building up of that revenue pool over time, as you guys like hit more and more users in the ecosystem.
Right. I'm thinking I'm understanding your question. And you're talking about the 30% that comes back from the game into the Drift ecosystem. Oh, I'm echoing here.
Yeah, no. So I was just trying to figure out exactly like, because you mentioned 30%. So like, what's the other 70% doing? Like how's everything else being distributed? What's the fees look like? How much does the project take? Like, I just want to figure out essentially the math around the economy that's working there.
No. So I'll hit that a little bit. So the breakdown is 70% goes back to as prizes, and then 30% goes to ecosystem maintenance, which is on purpose is vague. I know it's like, what do you mean? So there's running to make sure we can run the servers, development shop, going back, and then what percentage after that's taken care of can go back to the tokens liquidity. So we didn't like leave it vague because we wanted to be suspicious. We left it vague so we can interact with real time operating costs, and we can strategically plan it out. Because if we keep in mind we made all these numbers not knowing how we're going to perform, but we left it so that we can, within that 30%, we have the room to grow the project. So that's the answer for that. So once, we have a month worth of performance to evaluate, okay, then we might even be able to set it in stone. Hey, 20% always goes to liquidity. 10% of the ecosystem support, this percent always goes to servers. But now, we can't really do that. We don't know. We're confident we're safe in the percentage we have with our modeling, but, until we know, hey, we had to upgrade servers, or hey, we had to hire 5 new developers because, we're doing like three new maps, and what, what I mean? Until we know that, we don't know that. So that's kind of why it seems open-ended, but it is open-ended on purpose. The parameters are the 30%. That's what we're working within. Obviously, if we have killer volume, there's a lot more room and a lot more to come back into to potentially other areas in expansion. But we don't want to get ahead of ourselves there either.
Okay, no, I appreciate that extra clarification, Josh. Thank you so much for just breaking that down for me. Okay, yeah, so that makes a lot more sense, and you kind of have a little bit of flexibility within that 30%, maybe to divert or transition to one part of the project, or maybe to a certain group, if like there's a an initiative that you guys are rolling out or whatnot. So yeah, no, keeping that flexibility is definitely key within a project.
One
You
of
don't want
one
to
of the
be
important
too
parts too that
restricted.
yeah, one of the most important parts too that is overlooked by a lot of projects and the overall space is the education of the people that are not here yet, right? So, there's reports out there that we've quoted before that say there's going to be a 950 million new crypto users in 2024. So that would put us over the billion mark. That would get across the whole world. That would get us around 15-16% of the whole entire world's population, which is awesome, right? Because then that means crypto is actually kind of more mainstream. And I know we hear that every 4 years. Crypto is mainstream now. It's not, right? Until my mother can spell Bitcoin without messing up, we're not there yet, right? So we're not there yet, but we will be. And hopefully by the end of the 2024, we'll get there. But the point is that we need to educate more and more people, and we have to bring those Web 2 gamers, those gamers that are still on consoles and everything else, over to the Web 3 space. That is going to take a little bit of effort and working together with other Web 3 other companies and Web 2 companies to kind of bring them across into our world. So that's unfortunately not cheap, right? So that's going to take a little bit of spending. But I think if we do that, then we can actually, again, spread the message of Web 3 and our ethos here of meritocracy and being inclusive and being for everybody, right? So that's the whole entire point. So
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
education is. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Paul.
No, I just have like an anecdote about that because a project that I worked on we had established a relationship with a rapper who had a big following on Instagram, and he really liked games, and he was interested in getting into the Web3 space, and we were going to kind of work with him, bring his fans along. I can't say who it is, and I had to talk them through. Not just how to use a MetaMask, because that's way, way, way ahead of where they were at. It was literally, where do I buy crypto? And so, open an account at Coinbase, go through all this, go through the KYC. So I just start from the very, very start.
We're live. We're live. The buys are coming across the buy bot. So we're live, guys. Just want to say that. For this
Okay. So just to finish that point, there is a lot of education, and I've done it, and it's on the whole Web3 sector, right? It's not just us; it's on everyone. I don't think we've done a great job of it as a sector. I think we need to get better at it. It's a communication problem, it's a design problem, and it's just something we all need to solve together. And we'll get there.
And like the gaming. And not just gaming. I mean, gaming is a multi-billion-dollar industry, but if you think about like all the facets that play off of gaming, streaming, like Twitch, like it's probably closing in on $1 trillion if you like put all of the pieces of that industry together. So I agree. Like there's a huge opportunity. People spend. I mean, look at games like, even me personally, now that I'm an adult, I'm not somebody who's going to be in there. I don't have the time to go and grind for like 20, 30 hours a week to maybe like beat a challenge or get a skin that I used to when I was in high school. So if I want to get a skin like now, the way that you do it as an adult, it's like, shit, I'm just going to pay for it. I'll spend the $8, I'll spend the $10, $12 or whatever it is if I like something, and I'll just buy it because you have that buying power. So, I think. Yeah, I honestly think you hit the nail right on the head, Paul. There's so much money in that sector, but crypto has just not done a good job, or Web3 has not done a good job, almost like grooming that money to come into our sector. And I don't like the word grooming personally.
Yeah, no.
But it's like,
and I get you.
Yeah, it's essentially like they haven't been conditioned. Condition will maybe be a better word. They haven't been conditioned yet for crypto and DeFi because it's very fast paced. They don't understand, and even how many of larger buyers or maybe connections you guys have from Web3 don't even know how to set up a wallet yet, right? So And Michael's like, right
Do you
here.
know? Do you know how many people I've interviewed over the years in Web3 that I get to an interview with them, right? And they're like, I've been writing about Web3 and I've been writing about blockchain for, and I'm like, all right, so, give me your experiences in DeFi. And I'm ready for some horror stories and some this, that, and the other thing. And they're like, well, I have a MetaMask and I have, I have a Coinbase account and I stake on my Coinbase account. I'm like, that's not DeFi, man. That's like, nothing. You didn't. That's like the surface of the surface of the surface. I'm waiting for some crazy stories. I get like, no, we just. So, yeah, it's unbelievable, and these are the people that I won't hire them, but unfortunately they go off into the world of media, crypto media, and because the barrier to entry in crypto media is so small, they end up writing for whoever, and I see their name on an article. I'm like, I told that guy. I would never even give that person the second time a day, and there all of a sudden people are like listening to him, and I'm like, it's amazing.
Know a little bit about what that's like. Just watching somehow some of these quote unquote influencers operate in the space. I'm like, oh my god, this guy doesn't even ask any basic questions. So I feel you, man, and yeah, sorry to cut you off.
No, and I want people, and this is very important. This is more my Cointelegraph hat going on here. There's going to be 1 million tokens and 1 million projects that launch now because we're going into a bull market. So I encourage everybody to do due diligence on the team, do due diligence on the project, read the white paper, and really go into it with cautiously and with all your eyes open, and don't just I use the term ape in to a project completely. Be smart about it. We don't know we don't know what the future holds for anything, right? So be smart about what you're doing, do some research. And if you find a winning thing, awesome, but don't, put the mortgage on the house and then, do the whole entire thing. Dogecoin millionaire, he had all the credit cards and everything else. He was a millionaire for like 3 weeks and then Dogecoin dropped. Right. So, just do your due diligence, be smart about it. There's only one cryptocurrency that I recommend 100%, right? And it's behind me. Everything else, we have to play it smart. And of course I would always bet on myself, but I would like you to do due diligence on us. We're all doxxed. All of our LinkedIns are there. This is my face. If you come and find me, I do like dark beer and cigars and stuff. So just remember that. So, but I'm available. Yeah, please do due diligence on our project and all the other projects you see from here on out. And please do the research. It's worth it. Believe me, it's worth it.
No, I really respect that. Again, education is. I really knew nothing about DeFi and about crypto when I came in here. My first investment was in SafeMoon through a proxy buy, essentially. My buddy's like, hey, you got to buy this thing. I was like, dude, I'm not going through all these things. I'm not going into a centralized exchange. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. I was like, I'll send you some money if you want to buy it for me. And he's like, okay. So, I sent him a couple $100, sent me back like $6,000. I was like, cool. And then he did it again for Gamer Finance. And I was like, oh, this crypto thing's easy, man. Like, this is nothing to it. And then, little do I know it's very deep. And the more that I jumped into the blockchain and the education and the actually understanding it, the more it kind of frustrated me with how the mainstream and how the media perceives and essentially puts crypto and DeFi and the blockchain into its light, because the actual use case and transparency and value of the blockchain is not how it gets talked about. And right now it's like a casino, but the blockchain as a whole is so valuable to the potential global economy because of transparency and access. So I mean, we won't go too deep down that road. I know, Michael, that's something you kind of talk about daily. But, education, the more people that take it seriously, the more I think you guys can help people. I always say no one talks about it, but if you educate people, there is that emotional connection. If you feel like you gain value from somebody helping you, there's an emotional connection that somebody will form with your brand. And I don't think people understand the impact and how much you can't put a dollar value on it, but it's very important and it's very overlooked in crypto versus the real world. So yeah, like again, I think you guys have a good team to focus on that avenue as well.
Thank you. We appreciate that. That's very kind words. And yes, it's absolutely important. Being the public face of educating the new generation of blockchain users is in our mantra, and we want to contribute to that. Can't do it alone, but we want to contribute for sure.
Yeah, and I know I kind of went on a little bit of an off-topic adventure for the last couple of minutes into the blockchain and education, but I do appreciate it. Wanted to turn it back a little bit more to Drift and some of the stuff that you guys are doing, and walk us through how, between now and, that timeline of like late February, early March that Josh had given a little bit earlier in the AMA, how people can participate, what you would ask people to do to really learn more about Drift so that, again, they can educate themselves and they're not just like buying another preset. Like you guys have a month and a half between now and when you're going to launch potentially. So there's going to be different windows and different opportunities for people to get in. So like, what would you guys recommend between now and that launch date for anybody listening in, anybody catches it on the YouTube after, the best course of action to participate and kind of get to know what Drift's all about?
If you're a gamer, GGMF, it's free to play. Get good, get as good as you can, because the better you are when it comes to tournaments, you are more likely to win. And 40% goes to number one in any given tournament, which is huge. It's a potentially huge prize. If you're a non-gamer, look at our white paper, look at our LinkedIn profiles and our Twitter profiles and realize that we're real people. We're here for the long term. We are impatient. We are ambitious. Gala is our North Star. Gala Games is where we want to take Drift Studios. But we are, we're here for the long term insofar as we're prepared to build up a big organization within the Web3 space. And we want respect, and we want to just make excellent products that people enjoy.
Yeah, sorry, I've been a little quiet. I've been making sure stuff's been taken off. But
oh no, that's okay, Josh. I was going to say I'm really optimistic for, if you ask me what, one of my top 3 sectors is for crypto or DeFi Web3 moving into 2024. People may think I'm crazy, but it's still GameFi for me. And there's a lot of big projects building. There's a lot of serious projects building. I was lucky enough to have the chance to talk to Planet IX, like that big game ecosystem on Polygon. What was it? It was around almost a year ago now, actually. I think December of 2022. Yeah, so over a year ago. And that was there's a lot of big projects being built, big gaming ecosystems out there. And I think with the first wave, like Paul alluded to, kind of missing the mark a little bit and people's perception may be changing, or, maybe people thinking GameFi is not ready. I think the next wave coming, just, not financial advice, but I'm personally super excited for the next wave of GameFi because I've been watching and tracking a lot of big companies, big entities out there building. And I think more brands are going to start to come into DeFi too now. And we've seen it with some of these collabs and NFTs with these existing console games and stuff that, it's on the horizon. 2024, 2025, I think is a huge time for GameFi. And yeah, again, just something that I'm excited for. So I think you guys timing wise is really, really smart. And yeah, if you guys can capitalize on some of this movement and some of this boom, a lot of people love racing games. Look at all the Need for Speed. Forza is me because I'm an Xbox guy, so that was more my speed. But yeah, I love those games personally. So
yeah, I think you're right. I mean, obviously the narrative thing. A lot of people are saying that. I think like Paul talked about earlier. I mean, I just think there's so many opportunities if we do it right and we're strategic about how we launch, which is why we took these last 8 months and that plus to put this work in, because we don't want to have something so good at such a good timing and waste it. So but we're super excited. We keep doing our AMA tours. You'll see. I mean, you know what? Just if you want to see a little more and you want to wait to participate, we'll have more rounds. But obviously, if you go over to Telegram right now, we're live in our next lap. So we're on BNB, ETH, and Polygon right now. We're moving pretty good into this new round, and just super excited about what we got coming up. So we'll be happy to come back on, and update everybody. But come over and come on over to the community, and we'll be opening our Discord soon. We were waiting for that to the right time to staff it. So we'll be also marketing more to GameFi, the coming weeks. So look for that.
No, awesome. And again, I've had the chance to talk to some big projects and some big teams in the space. And I know the one cool thing with gaming is it's very collaborative. So I think a lot of the times these communities, these projects are really looking for people who are building the right way. And if you show the signs that you have a good intention, a good product, the openness to share their communities is definitely there. I would say, gamers definitely like to kind of play together. So yeah, no, like you guys have a cool opportunity, I think, in front of you, just with partnerships, collabs, and like I said, the overall movement I think the GameFi space is going to see here in the next year or two is exciting.
Yeah. Well, I know you run across a lot of projects. We're always open to.
So one thing I actually wanted to ask is you mentioned the token integration, and it's a perfect segment to kind of ask what you guys look for, because there's people who are listening in who are obviously invested in different communities, different plays, and maybe them knowing what you guys look for when it comes to token integration partners, collaborations, and that type of thing. So, it's always, and maybe what you do if there's a benefit or a bonus from a referral or commission standpoint if somebody locks in a partner for you guys.
Yep, exactly. No, that's a huge thing. I mean, a lot of our early success is grassroots. So, we have the ambassador program built into our contract. So you see it on our main webpage. If you go there, the top tiers have brought in, some of our partnerships have brought in excess of 300K or close to 300K. So we're already leveraging that. But, on the other side of if we do end up in a collaboration, we do have strategic and marketing funds. So if if you're in this group and you have a really good community and you're going to put in the time to make a good connection happen, the team is more than willing to compensate you. So I'll put that. I hope, also you want to grow your project. And if we come and it makes sense now, we're looking to get exposure in a lot of different communities. So we're so willing to, consider and look into it. We have a really big real life speaking engagement. We haven't dropped the details yet, but we'll be speaking at a really reputable place here in the United States, as Drift Token. So it's a really awesome opportunity. There's going to be one of the top CEOs in the space is going to be the headline, or one of the more well-known CEOs in the space is going to be a headline there at that event. So we'll be on.
Can't say it yet?
Oh, you can say it. Sure, if you want to say it.
Okay, so we're speaking at the Harvard event, the Harvard blockchain event in April 13th. So that's where we're going to be.
Wow. It's really cool.
So we're really pumped about that. I'll have my Drift shirt, Paul, by then. So I'll be able to wear it too. It's actually in the mail. The guy sent me the tracker today, so it's actually in the mail.
But you might do pink, right? Still
I'm not doing black with Drift. I can't do the pink. But so we're pumped about that.
Yeah, excited. We'll be in Boston. So come check us out. That's. I don't feel like there's many projects that can say that this early. Hey, we'll be speaking at Harvard, at Harvard Business School. So we'll be there. Dr. DeBone will be speaking. Not that I don't think I could represent us well, but we want to put our bona fides out there. So Mike will be speaking, but I'll be attending. If you want to meet some of the team and you want to come to the event, you're local. Feel free to come through because we'll at least be there rocking the our Drift gear. So come through, and I hope that somebody in here. I hope that gives some motivation and confidence, additional confidence to you guys of what we're trying to set up here. I mean, those are the type of moves we want to make. So, again, I don't feel like many projects are able to do that this early with that kind of audience. So there's obviously going to be a lot of big names there and a lot of connections, and we're going to be speaking with them on stage. So, where that goes, there's a lot of places we can go with that. So.
Yeah, again, I've hosted a lot of projects, been on a lot of spaces, kind of, indirectly met a lot of projects, never heard anybody reference a Harvard speaking event in their AMAs or spaces. So definitely a first here for our channel as well. And it's really cool, kind of speaks about, kind of some of the stuff you guys are doing outside the typical, Web3 norms, right? So really, really exciting. One of the questions, I'm just kind of going through some of the feedback and comments from my coordinator and our community here. One of the areas that people were hoping we could spend a little bit more time breaking down, gentlemen, was just on the concept of like the in-game win rate, like win mechanisms, how that works, how disconnections work, if there's potentially an issue with network connection while you're in the middle of a game, what the ticketing system is going to look like. So essentially, if you have an issue in game, if you have to submit a ticket, what the process is like for that ticket to be answered. So like more on the customer service or complaint issue resolution side of things. So like those were the two areas they were hoping to just get a little bit more clarity on, if that's okay.
Yeah. So I'll take it up front. The advantage of being event based is we have, there's a duration between when the window is open to participate and then pay out. So, obviously you're not going to look like it doesn't, the round isn't like 2 minutes and then it's over. We evaluate everybody. So if somebody does, if they get kicked out, they can come back in because you basically get in and you get unlimited attempts at your best time is how it works. And so that kind of alleviates a little bit of that. And if you're still having those type of issues, obviously that's where part of the funding goes to stand up support, so that there will be if an event's going on, there will be live support. And then, depending on necessity, there'll be live support or, delayed support options available, non-event timeline, but understanding there's going to be, we don't want somebody who could potentially get, especially in some of these bigger plots, we don't want somebody locked down. And we also don't want scammers. So, we have to put in, our resources to make sure we're able to evaluate, and react to a lot of this stuff in real time. Just like you would do at any other event or, any other organization that offered a service like this. So we'll be standing up similar things. We have, fortunately, 36 or 37 because we've been adding onto the development side. So we're close to 40 full-time in-house development, which covers all Web 2, Web 3 integration. So we're pretty deep there. So I could pretty confidently say that we got that covered. But without obviously, there's some of it I can't go into yet because the mechanism isn't there, and the other stuff is it's going to be kind of dynamic. So.
Awesome. No, I just wanted to go into that. I'm just reading through a couple others here to make sure there's no overlap.
I also wanted to say one thing.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
We didn't mention yet, but unlike a lot of other projects you might have already done in the past, we have no team token allocation. Each person on this team had to buy our own tokens. So there is no. If you look at the white paper, you'll see there is no team set aside thing. So there's no big, chunk of tokens that are out there waiting to dump on the communities that are out there, right? We all had everybody who was on the team had to go out and buy their own thing. So we're just as much as part of this community as the person that buys today on the round, right? Because we're just as invested in trying to get this thing successful as them. So I just wanted to say that, and that might be a little different too. Than you normally see out there in the world. So, all right. I'm sorry, Maurice.
No, that is a really good point to bring up. It definitely shows confidence. I mean, that you guys don't need the team tokens and you could just buy into the pre-sale or whatever as a public investor as everybody else. So the one thing I don't think we touched on is the pre-sale. I know you guys don't have vesting for the pre-sales or the rounds. Just wanted to go into what the discounts and what the different round rates look like and kind of the reasoning behind it. And that I think is one of the last two areas I needed to cover up. And then from there, I think we have a really good high level. And like you said, hopefully in the future, we can get you guys back in here for some updates and deep dive, some of the stuff that's like more like on the horizon, just like right in front of us, kind of like today with the pre-sale and whatnot. Just the token rate differences.
Yeah, so we broke it down over five laps. 5 rounds, 4 laps. So no, I didn't say that right. Yes, not. Yeah, I said that right. With a warm up lap. Okay, sorry. So we confused ourselves a little bit. Not really, but you got to make sure you keep it straight. So we started with 0.0006 as the starting price. We did a small round there, mostly word of mouth. We didn't spend any money. As I mentioned, we filled that in 2 hours, the 250K. The price went up about 8%, I think, to 0.00065. Now we're at 0.0007, and that's about like an 8 to 10% increase in price. The next rounds consecutively go up again between the 8 to 10% range. It was just we kept it even in 5.00005 cent increments. So the rounds get progressively larger in token allocation as well. Price goes up, token allocation goes up. The logic behind that is we start to be able to spend. As you can see, we've spent some marketing. We've been acquiring partners. We're working with on IDO platforms. So there's a lot up in the air. So as spending increases, we can increase the size of the pool. We have 900 holders. We're probably over 1,000 at this point because we've been open for the pre-sale for a bit. So I'd imagine we broke or close to 1,000 holders. Hopefully, between ETH, BNB, and now we added Matic today. So we're going to continue with that stepped approach as far as that goes. So the incentive to, if you do the ambassador program, if you do come in under the ambassador program, there's a direct commission possibility for those ambassadors. Everybody can become an ambassador. You kind of have instructions there when you go to buy on how much you need to spend to get into the club, and then you can go over to via influence, via their ambassador dashboard. You can start earning and get your own code. So that gives some incentive for our community to get other investors in, and then give some extra tokens for those who participate, 5% extra tokens. So that's kind of the plan and how we've been executing it. Like I said, we have this round is 750K in itself, and we're moving through it. I think we're approaching 10%, here in the first 25 minutes. So we're moving pretty good. Obviously we got some. We're going to continue to work, continue to market. The Court Telegraph article comes out later today. So we got stuff going. We got KOLs. Things like that will be ongoing. So that's where we're at. And then when we go into the token launch, it will be close to 8.5 million market cap. So that will be around a price of 0.00085, and that's 85 to 87. It depends on where we land, but in that ballpark range, we'll be launching. And that will be the initiation. You can see we have a pretty healthy amount, sorry, I got a message.
It's okay. I've been there, man. I'm assuming you're going for liquidity.
Yeah, sorry, man.
I got you. I was reading your mind. We had that mind melt thing going. Yeah, we're good. I've been there 100 times. Trust me. Trying to read a message or a DM while you're like trying to get out one last word, and you're like, what is that word? I can't. It's on my tongue. I can't.
You guys
the raise is live, so there's like 1,000 things going on here.
Not my normal. So, but thank you for being patient. So a good liquidity ratio. We'll be working on. Well, obviously, getting on the central exchanges and market making is a big focus. We don't. That's a huge priority. Almost all the successful projects use market making very early to keep price action sustainable. So we're obviously focused there. We have a good amount of funds to support that, and I think that's how over time we do get to like a 10-figure project, like pretty realistically. So 10 plus, so that's the plan. Again, if you want to go participate, it's via our D app right now. Just go drifttoken.io, connect on your desired chain, and like I said, we're cruising through. I hope I covered all that. If there's any part that I didn't really hit, I'm happy to fill it in.
You did a great job there. I think we do have a few people who maybe wanted to get some questions in here live. So if you guys have a couple extra minutes, maybe I know I said about 90, where you were almost at that threshold now. If you maybe had 5-10 extra minutes, guys, I'd love to pull up an extra, maybe a hand or two from the audience, get some questions into you. And then we could get the closing statements and everything going. But really enjoyable. Again, it seems like you have a good plan. I know GameFi and these types of projects are longer term ventures. Adoption and everything has to happen, user base growth before, revenue numbers start to really get to, what can further incentivize bigger people to come in because the revenue is juicy. So we understand the cycles, or at least I do, in terms of how you scale a project like this. But really enjoyed the discussion so far. I am a believer that GameFi has a big future in, 2024, 2025. So, you guys seem to be setting yourself up well, and, just all about how the brand continues to take shape and users come in. So, with that being said, if you have some time, I'd love to get maybe a question or two up. So we'll go here to maybe start out with Greed. And then I'm going to read, we'll get Greed and Sue unmuted. And then I got one more that I'm going to read out from my coordinator. And I think that should be the 3 questions for today. So Greed, if you're ready, you can start us off, and then I'll give Sue J the mic second.
Thanks, Maurice. Hey, guys.
Hey. How you doing?
Good. Yeah, I have 2-part questions here about your project on Drift. First off, you mentioned that studio token model is really an interesting approach, and we've seen some major successes on this, like Axie Infinity, token the XS. And why did you decide to take on this route?
Because the model is inherently unsustainable and requires on an ever-increasing, expanding universe of new gamers coming in to fund the old gamers trying to cash out. So we used a studio token approach without an in-game token. So our, the gaming liquidity is going to come from ETH and Matic and BNB, etc. The amount of games, the number of experience I've had with just tokenomics just simply don't work. And I've spent hours and hours trying to develop demand pressure for the in-game token, because the sell pressure was just so consistent and so constant. It was just impossible to sustain. So that, from that experience, we think, think is not as strong of a word, but I don't want to say no. It is my firm belief that in-game tokens don't work as a model for games.
Okay. All right. So another question here on regards with your free-to-play model, so on your payout version. So how will you balance attracting players to the free version while you incentivize them to progress on the paid competitive events? What retention tactics will you use in this strategy?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Now, if you're playing for free and you see yourself rated pretty highly on the global leaderboard, then I think if you want to earn some money, you would be incentivized to then enter tournaments, pay to enter tournaments and try and win them. There's a bunch of strategies we've got around that. I couldn't break it down into there's nothing global, right? Nothing global works. Different markets are different people, different communities, different cultures respond to different signals. So we're doing that very much on a market by market basis, and not treating the world as an entire market that we can. If you're speaking to everybody, you're speaking to nobody, right? So those sort of strategies are going to be very much country specific as we move forward.
Yep. Makes sense. Yeah. Thanks for answering my questions, Paul.
Yeah. Thanks for asking.
Yeah. Thanks, Maurice.
so much, Greed, for jumping in with the questions. Sue, if your mic is still ready, you can jump in, and then I will throw that last question from the audience to the team afterwards.
Perfect. Hey, guys. Josh, Michael, Paul.
Hey.
All right. So, first of all, love the idea. I think true gamers will appreciate the fact that it is completely skill-based and not based on how much money you can throw at the game. Which is a lot of games these days, and it's frustrating. I wanted to get a little bit into the numbers in terms of the expense as to how much it has costed you for the game in its current avatar, the V2, which is only web-based and not Web3 integrated. And I have a reason to ask this question, but if you have like a ballpark number of how much you've spent on developing the game so far.
Yeah, so I mean, since it's in-house, obviously, we're it's not like we're not billing anybody, but I could say so far, we're I think actually I say 9 months. 9 months is when we all started working together but the game was being worked on before that. So I mean, we're at like 12 plus months of work into the game. To say like a cost on that, I mean, it depends. Like you have to evaluate all the developers' time, evaluate our time, and then you could put a number on it. That's open-ended because it depends where you go, et cetera. So I mean, I would consider at least mid six figures of work has gone into this, conservatively, and we're pretty far into V2, just so you know, as far as integration goes. So we're not like far from that. We've been working on that, but it's kind of. I'm not trying to be vague, but I mean, it's kind of hard to answer that question because we're not billing outside the organization. That makes sense.
Right. No, that's cool. That's cool. You answered it in the amount of time spent instead of the amount of money spent. That's fine. Why I was asking is because of the structure you have to get the raise. What I've seen in past projects, different kinds of projects, is when you have a multi-tier pre-sale with the raise increasing in every round, and also the price increasing in every round. What happens more often than not is the people who are most excited about the project, the people who actually believe in the project, they get in first. They're already done with their buys, and then as you progress into the later rounds, you will see the interest kind of slow down a little bit, and it might take you longer to sort of complete the round. I've seen cases where the rounds did not complete at all, and teams had to pivot to a different strategy. Now, considering your last round is your biggest round, where you're planning to raise 1.65 million, and it's also at the highest price, just a hypothetical situation: if the round does not complete, how do you pivot? What happens? How long do we wait?
Yep. So, okay. Go ahead, Mike. Mike, go ahead.
Yeah. So, as Paul had mentioned before, we are, we're patient, we're cautious, but we're also impatient in a way. We want to get this thing going, right? So, just like you're building a sand castle, if you have less sand, there's less you can make. You have more sand, the more you can make, right? And we are very. You can ask Josh. We just got in an argument yesterday about spending money. I'm an economist, right? So it's in my nature to be stringent over the checkbook there, and my CFO job. It's kind of the deal. We will launch and we will go forward with the plan. With right now it's late February, beginning of March, depending on factors like if there's a centralized exchange that wants to integrate with us and they want us to do a certain thing, and it might take an extra week or two or whatever it happens to be. And of course we'll communicate that with the community because we're all about openness here, and it's not about trying to keep things from the community. We're very open about when things happen, and we want to raise as much as possible because it allows us to do more things to get the token out to more people and get the game exposed to more people, which brings the ecosystem more value. And it's a Metcalfe's law thing, right? Or a Sarnoff's law. more people utilize the network, the more value it has. So that's what we're trying to do as much as we possibly can. We can do that with capital. Now, if let's lie to each other and say that we didn't take another dollar today, we're still going to continue forward, right? And we still have some stuff to deploy, and we still have some things to go. But we want to support the community as best we can. And there are, as you probably are aware, other projects in the space that have raised way more than we're trying to raise, and have done way more than we're raising now, even at 4 million. Right? There's other companies. There's one company I think last year. I say last year thinking that it's 2023, but I mean last year as in it might be 2022 because time's flying by so fast. They raised $20 million and they had no game. They had no product to play. They had none of that stuff, right? Just purely on speculation. And we're trying to give you something straight up in front of everything. So there's a beta out there. There's a team behind it. There's all of us, and we're trying. So, we're going to have to, if the worst happens, we're going to have to pivot and stuff. But to your point, in the beginning, we didn't have any exposure. We didn't go out to the media companies. We didn't go out to any of the people. We didn't do any of that stuff. We only got that way because, and we just recently, I think in this round, started reaching out with Cointelegraph articles going to come out later on today. Those kind of things are going to start, So it wasn't immediate. In the beginning, it was all kind of grassroots, which is really cool. And now we're getting to the point where it's starting to get out into the regular Web3 media, which I think should give us some more exposure. And I think everyone should know this or not, but we have one media partner that he's big into racing. So he was like, does anybody here know what the green Lambo is? What Web3 has that Lambo thing, hey, win Lambo. It was all because of that kid, that Martini guy, because in 2010 he bought the green Lamborghini from all of his crypto gambling at the time winnings back and forth. So he bought the green Lambo, and he's actually, that Martini guy is actually partnered with us, and we might end up being on top of one of his cars, because he's big on racing. So he likes this game. So he's a good guy, and he's going to get the message out there to his community. And we'll continue on getting influencers that understand and are good influencers, right? Not the, I'm not going to mention any names here, but people that might have gotten arrested in the past couple of years or whatever. We're staying away from those people, and we're clearly, I didn't say his name, Paul. So no one knows who I'm talking about. Okay. Just a random guy is what I mentioned. I didn't mention anybody's name. We're staying away from those people. We don't want chillers, right? We want people that actually are, good partners for long-term success. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. That's very well said. I like the idea of having a step-by-step approach to exposure. That way, I think you should be able to finish all your raise rounds.
We're trying not to go. We're trying not to go the VC route, right? So that's one of the important things too. Is we're trying not to do the VC thing. Now it's a lot easier to pick the phone up. I mean, all these interviews are online, so you can see me. I've interviewed Draper and Tapiero and all those guys. So they're there, right? I have not reached out to any of these people specifically, because we want to keep this in a Web3 world. We want to keep this between the grassroots people. We don't want whales to own, 70% of the supply. We don't want any of that. So it might be actually a little harder for us because we're trying not to go that Web2 route of getting some, X brand company to throw money at us, right? And we're gonna fight that impulse, as much as possible. And I don't want to go that way. So that's why I want to just cover this round with this way. And then not pick the phone up and make those calls, So
yeah, you need to play by their rules if you go the VC route. So
right.
and that's
kind of precise. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's not to say we won't do what's the best for the company, but we're not anxious, given our that we have the ability and we're raising on our own. We're not anxious to give up more than we're worth. So, but as Mike said, if in the event we do need to reevaluate something, we obviously looked at that potential. There's contingencies, and we know we have a good cushion to be able to launch successfully, no matter what. So just have that confidence.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, that's kind of why I was asking about about the funds and how much you spend on the game, because based on how much you're able to raise in these rounds, what would it take for the V2 to come out and then V3 to come out? Right, it looks like you're far into V2 already, so whatever you've raised so far should probably be enough.
Yep, there's already a set allocation ahead, so it's already accounted for essentially in well within covering everything that we have planned. So there's no surprise cost until it won't be a surprise then, but until we get into operational side, which is when we start generating revenue via the game and the token, then we go into a little bit of what I was talking about earlier, the unknowns. But now we covered everything through V2 and to token launch as far as expenses go. It's already been accounted for.
Perfect. I think I have one last question, and this is me trying to sort of check out the game. Now I know it's not available on the mobile yet, but I was still trying to access that link through my phone, and I see it loads all the way up. It actually shows you the game intro and then throws you an error that Unity could not be loaded or something. But then I tried the same thing on my desktop, and it did go all the way through, but it took I think I didn't time it, but about 5 minutes for the game to load. So I was thinking, is there when the V2 comes out, would there be specifications on minimum requirements for be it the browser, be it the OS, and your hardware specifications and stuff?
Yeah, it's just one time. What it does is loads in your cache, and so that's the upfront is 200 megabytes, so it's not too crazy. We're working on a mobile light version, obviously that's still in the works. But yeah, that's what you saw up front is that initial load time. It depends on your network connectivity on what that is. For me, sometimes it's when I do a new browser, it's 1 or 2 minutes. Sometimes it's 4. It also depends on the network and stuff. We will be upgrading, obviously, as demand goes with servers, but it's always going to be limited by the user's bandwidth. So it's always going to be there. But we will, as we move forward, we'll do the right things to optimize what we can from our side. And then the mobile web is a big priority. Obviously, it's all hit on. It's big in Southeast Asia, so we have a heavy focus on that to make it lightweight and easy to interact with.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, thank you so much for answering all my questions, and all the best with all the next rounds and then the launch.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Maurice. Sorry for taking a little bit of an extra time.
You know me, Sue, I'm always just listening. Again, I love the back and forth discussion. I won't cut anybody off if it's relevant, and definitely was relevant to the project and, what we're discussing here today. So that being said, I did mention, just one last quick question here from the audience, and then we could definitely wrap up with, final closing statements and that call to action here on behalf of the Drift team. But let me go back up here and find it. Okay, so this one, I couldn't find the other question I was looking for, but this one's from EXO. He was just talking about, so for the private lobbies, so he wants to talk about more, if you're just trying to play with a friend, what are the parameters? What types of wagers can you set up within a private match? Could you wager tokens? Could you potentially wager skins, NFTs in the future? And then his second question is on the tournament mode. When you're entering a tournament, is it open level, or do you guys rank the tournament before it goes live based on past experience? So those were the two questions there from EXO.
I'm gonna jump in and say they are excellent questions. As for the first one, that's not on the roadmap, but it's something that I'm just going to jot down right now for us to think about and discuss. It's interesting. That's actually really interesting. So we love kind of getting these kinds of difficult feedback things that we can't actually answer and that we haven't thought about. We're not going to think about everything. So great question. I will make a note of it and we will talk about it. For the second one, I'm not 100% sure how to answer that. I guess at stake, the heart of that question is about fairness in terms of game play. Am I right there?
I will just potentially have to get Buck to send them a quick clarification.
Okay.
But yeah, I think he's talking about gameplay, essentially like making sure that somebody's not able to manipulate the tier or rankings that they would fall in to try and just give themselves an advantage to win the money in the tournament. Essentially, like I'll give you an example. And this would be maybe the way somebody, could try and potentially do it, was they have a core account or a core profile that they maybe have set up with you guys, and they spend all their time practicing and racing on that account. And then come tournament time, they go ahead and create a secondary account that looks as if they're like a rookie or a noob, right? To try and earn a lower placement. Yeah. So that's kind of like what, if there's anything like he's kind of just trying to see like how you guys can safeguard people in the competitive tournaments from people trying to manipulate or almost stack their rank, for lack of a better terms, to win.
Right. Okay. So a guy knows they're very good, then they log themselves in with another wallet as another profile, and nobody else knows who they are. My God. That's it. Like, great question. I'm not sure how practically you'd be able to do. I'm just trying to think through, how would I do that in this game? How would that actually matter? How would I make that work?
Because you need to, because it's just like understanding the tokens, right? Because you would kind of need to have the tokens in your wallet. So if you purchase them on a primary account, even if you're moving tokens, that's why I love the blockchain, because you can track shit. Like, if somebody's moved tokens from 6 wallets and tries to hide it, well, I might not be good enough on the blockchain detective side to find it, but somebody out there is, right? So if somebody's trying to manipulate and stack the system to benefit themselves because there's a token involvement, like, it would be a little bit easier to follow. But that is definitely, as you guys scale and maybe the prizes get higher and higher, that could be something that people would. Yeah. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that are just in it for themselves.
No, for sure. So the only kind of practical thing that I can think of the top of my head right now is that if I'm a gamer and I know that Crypto Dude Racer 10 is really good and he's in the tournament, then I'm going to sit that tournament out because I don't want to race against him because I know he can beat me. But if Crypto Bro Dude number 10 logs in as a different ID and then I can see. Okay,
so that's the kind of. But this is where side betting against other people makes the logical sense, right? So if you know that you're in the lower tier skill level, the higher tier skill person is always going to win, because that's the idea of the game, is to be good, get good, MF, right? That's the whole idea. So I might pay $10, whatever it is, the entry fee to wager on myself to enter into the race. But I know that I'm probably going to lose again, like against that 3-year-old that's amazing at game 5 right out of the gate, right? But I probably know that me and Paul probably have a very similar skill set. So then I go, hey Paul, how about me and you enter into this pool where we're betting this? Now, that would be where you would be able to control the amount of skilled players that are in that pool that are racing against each other. You could even do, I don't recommend driving after this, but you probably even do a drunk racing thing on the side, say, hey, let's all get drunk and play against each other in this side race, same race as everything else. But, if somebody gets 200th place and somebody gets 400th place, the person in second, you guys are racing against each other. So whoever gets 200th place, they get the winner. They're the winner of that side race, right? You know what I'm saying? So, which then gives you the ability to hedge yourself against the original race. So there's a lot of opportunities there. But I think that the way to do that is through those. This is the first time I'm going to use this terminology. It's not correct, but it makes sense. That's the layer 2 way of handling this kind of a thing, right? So layer 1 is the regular race, and then there's like a layer 2, which is the side race, which is happening above it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and again, like I completely get what you're saying about like the side betting and like, kind of almost in a sense like hedging. If you're maybe not the best skill level or the best player, but you still love the game and you want to participate, and you maybe check somebody else's record and they're 75-2. You're like, probably not beating that guy. Maybe I'll throw a little bit of money on him. And if he wins, I don't lose as much because, I'm going to make a little bit on the side pool from that bet. I joke, I call it the Pete Rose style of betting.
Right.
I personally love Pete Rose. I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. I think that whole thing's a joke. But, that's the style of betting. I always try and have some fun with it. So,
right.
Yeah, no, again, I think really smart. Love the answers to the question. And XO, really good questions from you today, Buck. I'm sure XO gets a little something for that because he really must have spent some time and looks like he's a gamer. I didn't know that about him. So you'll learn something new about your own community every day, it looks like. So again, guys, really good discussion. We're kind of pushing that 2-hour mark, and I know you have a few other things going on today, but first and foremost, thank you so much for the time. And I really enjoyed the discussion. Great back and forth with the community when they jumped in for the questions. And XO, again, really solid questions you sent through. So I'll give you the mic, closing statements, any final calls to action that you guys wanted to let us know about. But yeah, we have that group set up. We'll be in touch. I'll drop you guys a recording in there. We can kind of keep in touch via DMs in the group. And, I'd love to maybe bring you guys up. We do a space focused more so on utility projects every Thursday. Find, a day or a week that fits the schedule and the rollout of maybe some of the stuff you guys have upcoming and bring you in as a guest. I'd love to do that. So, we could chat a little bit more in DMs about that. But, from my side, thank you very much for taking the time. The ecosystem, the game itself looks good. I know any gaming projects or any kind of longer term utility plays require time to build, get adoption there. So if you like what you heard today and you kind of jump into the community, you do your research, just stick around, give the team time to build. Don't be one of those people in the chart launches. If it goes a little bit down on the first day, you're freaking out. Just again, understand what you're getting into. Like Michael said, really get to know the project, what they're building, take the time, do your due diligence, and, a lot of time to do so, being that they have until late February, early March before the token actually goes live. So you can play the game, you can talk to the team, any questions, you can have them answered, but really enjoyed the discussion, guys. And thank you for the extra hour. I'll pass you the mic to close out on behalf of the team.
Awesome. Thank you so much for hosting us. We enjoyed it. It was a little bit of an experience, but a little bit of an experience to go live for this round and be on our AMA, but it worked out. Our dev teams had everything lined up well, so it was pretty seamless. So we appreciate that. Thanks for working with us. When you guys stick to make things right, we appreciate that. Hopefully you guys listen to this recording in the future. You like what you hear. Come check it out. Hope you guys here on today. Come over to the community, ask questions. We'll be opening our Discord as mentioned, and then come over and get involved. Check us out for the game, and then come into our next AMA, ask any questions, come ask questions in Telegram. We're super open to all that type of stuff. Check out our LinkedIns, look at our history, and do your research. And if you like it, come jump in this lap of the pre-sale. So that's all I got to say, Mike and Paul.
Yeah, I mean, thank you very much, Maurice, for having us in. It was a great chat. Tough questions at the end, which are fantastic. I mean, I kind of personally love those. So at drifttoken.io, the third round, the lap 2 is going as we speak. Jump in, come in our Telegram group, ask difficult questions, get involved if you're interested. And I just want the one thing that I'm not a big sort of shilly kind of dude. But what I will say is, our ambitions are to be the next Gala Games. We want Drift Studios to have a suite of products that people love and people are entertained by. So we're here for the long term, but with a couple of caveats on that, being that long-term in Web3 is not quite the same as long-term in the real world. So we are seeing that 2024, GameFi in 2024 will be very, very, has a lot of promise. And we're also impatient. We want to get we want to grow as fast as we can, and put out as many excellent products as we can as quickly as we possibly can. So that being said, I just wanted to express my appreciation for you having us on here. I know we had a few hiccups over there. I'm glad you're feeling better as well. So they've got a great and very active community and a knowledgeable bunch of people. So check us out if you're interested. And we're really grateful for all the time you've given us.
Yes, I just want to say thank you very much. It was great. It was a great AMA. I look forward to, if you have more questions or more in-depth things, please enter into the Telegram channel, and I think we're going to, do the Discord thing. We're going to announce that shortly. So I have all the information up there. So please ask us questions. And, if you see something, play the game, please give us some feedback, whatever it happens to be. We're here for it. We're this is about inclusivity and the transparency and everything else, and we're all about it. So, we're not hiding. I'm not going to turn the computer off and then go hide in the corner. I'm here answering questions and dealing with things, and that's what we do. So, we're not afraid of the light. If you want to put it like that, we're not Do Kwon or Sam Bankman.
No. I love it, and you guys definitely have a good sense of humor as well. Seem like a good group, so very knowledgeable as well. Michael, I was messaging, your advisor saying, it was really cool to kind of hear Michael talk about some of his experience live, and I gave her a kind of like I was like Harvard with some eyes, being like, what the heck? Like that's pretty crazy, right? Like that's really cool stuff that you guys are doing outside the box, and it definitely touches on probably your experience as a professor. So. I'd love to maybe chat a little bit more with you outside of the project scope as we're kind of scaling out our YouTube channel. And for me, education is so important. Maybe love to have you back as a featured guest on one of our more education-based series or panels. But yeah, again, really good depth of knowledge on the team, good years of experience within Web3 and the blockchain. And, knowing you have a professor on your team who actually, teaches this stuff and is trying to push the industry forward, that's really cool for me as well. So, great work by you guys in the, early stages, developing the brand, developing the product, and I'm excited to see what Drift looks like moving forward. So as always, guys, jump into the community, reference the website, the white paper, all those materials you have to do your research, stay active and up to date using the pinned messages as well as their social feeds for what's upcoming. But yeah, definitely enjoyed the AMA. Really, really knowledgeable and likable team you guys have. So thank you so much for the understanding about Saturday. And yeah, enjoy working with you guys moving forward. We'll definitely have to run this back as you guys are scaling out some additional promotions, maybe ahead of launch or whatnot. But yeah, really good guys. And one final time, pre-sale lap 2 is live on the drifttoken.io website. So you can check it out there, or you can tune into the recording of the AMA once it gets published to the YouTube channel afterwards. So this officially concludes the AMA on Caesar's Calls with Drift, aka Drift Token. So thank you, Paul, Josh, as well as Michael, for your time, and everybody have a great rest of your Monday.
Yes, sir.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Thank you.